This should be the good one. The last one was the bad one. This is the good one. All right, guys. Hello. My name is Cush. I am the beverage director of this tiny little area right here, spanning to the camera and back of this little corner of my house. I direct beverage here. Today, I'm going to be walking you guys through how to make what I believe is my signature cocktail. People say, what is your signature cocktail? I don't know what that means ever, but I usually point them this way. The Association Old Fashioned or the Cush Old Fashioned. Flamed Old Fashioned, some people say. But this is my Old Fashioned.
Cush.
What the heck is even an Old Fashioned? What is it? What does it do? What is it like? Well, the Old Fashioned is actually one of the oldest cocktails that there is. In fact, it's so old that its original name was the whiskey cocktail. So the cocktail sort of came from here in the 1880s. A bunch of, like, I imagine, mustachioed, suspendered hipsters, 1880s hipsters, decided that they were going to try and make it different, make it better. They were going to put all kinds of curacao and maraschinos and all kinds of stuff into it. People didn't want that. They would get a different drink every time, so they would say, I want the old-fashioned way of making the whiskey cocktail. Eventually, 1936 rolls around. Somebody puts out a book. That's how these things really get named, and it's just called the Old Fashioned. But let's go a little bit back, just a touch back, talking about the cocktail. What exactly is a cocktail? What does it do? What is it? Why? It's such a dumb name. There's a lot of reasons people think that a whiskey cocktail or just a regular cocktail is called a cocktail. I'm going to give you a couple stories that I don't like and then the one that I do. So we're going to start off with this guy right here. This is called a jigger. It's meant to jig things. It's meant to measure things, basically. So before we had these very expensive, way overly expensive measuring devices, what the French would have had in New Orleans, where the cocktail was created, they would have had something called an egg cup, or in French it's called a croquetier. That's what egg cup means. So they think they eventually spit out a cocktail instead of croquetier. It's a dumb story. I don't like making fun of Americans any more than I absolutely have to. So we're going to just ignore that story. The next story comes from this little guy. This is called a bar spoon. It does not have a fun French name. It's pretty simple. Some people think that the original person to pour a cocktail just had a little rooster. Where I have a pineapple, just had a little rooster. So the cocktail goes in there. It's a dumb story and it's already over. So what are we doing here? Go home. The next couple ones are, one thinks it's the daughter of the King of Mexico when they were finishing up, I think, the Mexican-American War. One of the wars where Mexico fought against the Americans. The King of Mexico's daughter's name was Huacatale. Huacatale came in, 2 drinks, people drank, everybody was happy. Cocktail. And then some people have this weird obsession with it being when you take ginger, like a piece of ginger, and you shove it in a horse's butt that is sick, and the tail goes like this, and it cocks up. Those people are disgusting. Blech. I don't like that story. I don't like talking about putting things up a horse's butts almost ever. It's almost never a polite topic of conversation. Sometimes you have to talk about it. Instead of those 4 stories, though, I would like to give my own, which not necessarily a story, but a reasoning behind this drink. And the reason is, if you have ever woken up and felt like absolute poo-poo, you didn't feel good, you were drinking all last night with your buddies, with your boss, been drinking for 3 weeks just by yourself, you wake up, you feel awful, what's the first thing you do? Is it put on your little running shorts, go for a quick run, right around the block, check your thing? No, don't do that. Bad for you. Nobody does that, and it's probably not good for you. I can't say it's bad for you. Look at me. I'm not, whatever. Don't do that. Instead, what do? You army crawl to the refrigerator, and then you open that refrigerator up, and you just pray, oh God, I hope I left myself 3 beers to get through this. That is what this was meant to do. Instead of 3 beers, this was meant as a hangover cure. After the cock crows, the first thing to tail the cock crow after a long night of drinking was the cocktail. That is the story that I like. Not only does it allow me to drink Manhattans and Old Fashions and martinis first thing in the morning, but it has some historical, has some like scientific, not necessarily historical. It's not just mumbo jumbo, hokey pokey. It's all kinds of other good stuff. So let's make Cush's Old Fashioned, or the Association Old Fashioned. We're going to take this guy right here. This is just a sugar cube. The reasoning for this is before coffee was a major player in everybody's life, people would, first thing in the morning, they would wake up and they would take some sugar. That's why we still put maple syrup on pancakes. That is why coffee comes with sugar. This sugar is meant to get you going. You go to a coffee shop nowadays, most drinks are going to have some sort of sugar into it, and then you can get it with a side of breakfast cake, which we, modern day, call muffins, but it's just breakfast cake, and it's just to sort of get your little metabolism moving and going. That's what this sugar is for. Next ingredient is this stuff. This is called bitters. Specifically, this is called Angostura Bitters. I'm going to hold it right here, and I'm going to put it right here. This is called Angostura Bitters. It is an old bitters. It's an old recipe, and it is more or less just medicine. You guys have heard of bitter roots to calm your stomach, bitter herbs to calm your stomach. Just like spoonful of sugar makes the bitterness go down. That wasn't the original song, but I needed a third thing. So now we're going to add this. Now, if you're making a regular old-fashioned, just a regular blank old-fashioned, 2 dashes should do you. We're not going to be making a regular old-fashioned. We're actually going to be going a little bit further. So we're going to do 10 full dashes. So here we go. Right there, we have 10-ish dashes. Basically, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be lighting this thing on fire. These bitter herbs is what we're looking for. We're not looking for the alcohol. So these bitter herbs are going to help us calm our stomach. That is what these bitter herbs are going to do for our hangover when you get achy belly. The last ingredient we're going to be putting in here is whiskey. Today we're going to be using Angel's Envy Rye. It's probably my favorite whiskey ever. The rye, specifically because it is aged in rum barrels. Awesome. Awesome. You guys can see this is all rum. Some of this is rum. Some of that's rum. Some of this is rum. A lot of rum going on in my life. I like anything that has something to do with rum. This is what we are looking for. We're going to take this guy. This is a masher or a muddler. And we're going to mash this sugar until it is a nice little fine powder. And there is sort of a, I don't know, like a situation. I don't know. It's like a mush. And we're just going to spin this all the way through here until it coats the side of the glass. It should stick there. Next step we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking an orange, one of these little oranges right here. This is a navel orange. It's sort of thick on the top, and we're going to just cut ourselves a little swath right here. These oranges on the outside are made of oil or have oil on them, and oil from oranges is flammable. So that makes these basically grenades. When you light them on fire, you can throw them to your enemies. And there you have it. Cush has now told you to do war crimes. Don't do that. It won't work. And if you're there trying to light an orange on fire, you'll look silly. You look like a ding-dong. We're going to light this on fire. That's absolutely what we're going to do. Now, some people think that you can just take a little torch and throw that in there. I don't love the taste of butane. Crazy enough, right? I think butane tastes like butt. I have a little candle here, and I have toothpicks. Toothpicks taste less like butt. And we are trying to make our cocktails taste as little like butt as we can. And we are going to just spin this around until the sides of it catch fire. There we go. We can start to hear it. We're going to put this right here. We're going to give this a big old shake. See all that fire going right there. And then we're going to squeeze our orange. Yeah! Yeah! That was awesome. Cool. That is that 2 more ingredients left. One of them is ice. It's water. Usually the last ingredient in every single cocktail. I can't think of a cocktail right now that doesn't have water, and we all know the importance of water. Get a nice good piece of ice. This ice that I have here is made using the Camper English system. Camper English is some dude, I imagine. I think he's a dude. I've only read what he's up to. He seems like he's a guy. I don't want to give him any weird traits. I don't want to gender him. But he's a guy that has figured out how to make clear ice in an igloo container. I love clear ice. I think it just looks extra sexy. He actually freezes it so that there's no air in there, so that the ice melts a little slower inside of your cocktail. If I was at my bar, I would never just like, just like rub this ice all over. But what I'm doing right now is I'm tempering it. I'm making sure that this ice, the moment I put it in here, doesn't crack. Ice contracts and expands, and if you put it in to someplace too quickly, it will crack, and that is not what we're looking for. I love to stamp my ice. I have this great ice stamp with my face on it. There we go. You can see that right there. This is made of brass, so we just sort of toss this right on top. You don't have to push that hard. The brass, it takes on the room temperature and will get this thing going pretty good. You guys can see right there, sort of, that it has my little face on it. Last ingredient is this guy right here. This is our delicious rye. In the original recipe, they would just hand you the bottle. That is how they would go. They didn't really have an idea. They would give you sort of this base. I don't do that at any of my bars. I do it at my house, though. So if you come to my house and have a drink, I will hand you the bottle, and you can pour as much of this whiskey as you would like. I recommend, and nobody really cares once you've told them that they can have as much as they want. They don't care what the recommendation is. I recommend 2 full ounces. So we're going to just take 2 full ounces of this delicious nectar of the gods and goddesses, and we're going to pour that right on top of our ice. And thus, we have it. We're going to give this a stir. We're going to take our spoon, give this a stir until there's no sugar there on the bottom. And do get that orange peel up out from the side, or from underneath your ice cube. You don't want that staying down there. And that is that. We're going to go ahead and give this one a sipperooski. Oh. Oh. It's so good. It's just so good. Like, why is it so good? Why is this whiskey so good? Why is this method of making stuff so good? Oh, I love it so much. So this right now is called the Cush Old Fashioned, or the Association Old Fashioned, the Flamed Old Fashioned. I don't care what you call it, as long as you call it the Cush Old Fashioned. That's gonna make me happy. Thank you for watching this. If you did, if you didn't, then you have no idea, and I don't need to thank you. Please like and then subscribe. And I've heard people say ring the bell. I don't know what that is. I think there's a bell. It's like a bell here-ish, like right down here-ish, that you can ring so you're notified when my new stuff comes up. I do live classes every week. I think I'm going to move them to Sundays, but right now they're Saturdays. I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you. When we are having our delicious cocktails. There we go. To squeeze our orange. Right there. Look at that. All that orange. Right there. That looked good. That was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome. Oh, it doesn't always work. Oh. This is just a lot. That is a card. You guys hear that? There we go. Like, subscribe, do your thing, do your thing, do your thing, do your thing, do your thing. Let's get this thing. There we go. It's done. Oh, I just wanted to put my name on it. I just want my name on this. It's so good to be done with this. Oh, I hope the framing looks right. It was heartbreaking the last time. Cool. All right, let's turn this off.